Hey guys, welcome back to another week of the Get to Know Me series. For being here today, Did you miss me? I know you did. It's been a while, but I'm back. It's Captain Mike, and we got another episode of Get to Know. That's right, that series where we introduce people with very interesting careers and talk about how their God-given passion kind of motivated them into that. And today we have a great guest, met by happenstance, but what a great meeting it was with such an interesting career and interesting life. And so I am going to now introduce our guest for today, Demetria Woodard of the NCAA. Let's check her out in action.
Hi, my name is Demetria Woodard. I'm a freshman guard on the AU women's basketball team. My hometown is Rochester, New York, and my major is business marketing. And a fun fact about me is I played a center at 5'6".
Famous, also famous, number one, desirable. I do what I want, when I want, and how I want it. Leave you with the one in the air, that's how I roll. I got change to throw, I don't care about no gold. Better, so much better for me.
As well as Jessica Wilcox, you guys came out and you started, spreading them out more, making them come after you at the arc. Talk about what you guys had to do in terms of passing the ball, spreading them out, and getting open to make those 3-point baskets.
Our biggest thing was what we talked about in the locker room during halftime was moving the ball quickly, moving it, reversing, attacking on the reversals because Cuca was clogging the lane so heavily with bringing Amanda inside. So with Jess and I shooting more and spreading them out more on the arc, it gave our posts a better opportunity to score from the inside.
If you want, I know you want it. It's always kind of funny, yeah, because you
The 34-11 lead at halftime.
It was probably one of the best decisions that I made. Just the team here and the coaches are just so inviting, and I really felt like a family since I've been here, and just the fact that for the 3 years since I've been here, like they've really taken me in and treated me as if I've been here since freshman year. So it was a great night.
All right, let's bring her in. One of my favorite things in this series is when I make these sizzle reels and I watch everybody's reaction off screen. Demetria, was your first time seeing that little trip down memory lane for you?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say. I was at a loss for words. You found everything from my freshman year to my senior night. The internet is forever, I see.
It is. Once you're on there, we say it to all the kids all the time, anything on there, it's on there.
Yeah, it's game for sure. But no, that was awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you are welcome. I'll be sending it your way without the little Salvation Army watermark. You can put that on your page. Well, welcome, Demetria. We're so glad to have you. Now, I kind of gave a quick intro, but Demetria definitely has a great basketball career that we're going to talk about, but she is actually, as you can see by her nameplate, now moved from on the court to behind it. She's working for the NCAA. She's currently the coordinator of women's basketball for the NCAA, which is pretty awesome. I get jazzed hearing anybody that's got to, put all this together. And we did meet very much happenstance. The quick story of how I try to connect the people. I was sitting at the Philly airport and I saw this young lady with the Final Four backpack, and I immediately perked up and wanted to know what school she played for. And she said, "Nope, don't play. I helped go and organize it," which blew me away. And I had to ask so many questions. And this poor girl was sitting there just exhausted. And here I am pouncing all. So I'm sorry about all the questions, but you piqued my interest.
No, you're totally fine. Believe it or not, I get a lot of questions just when we have the Final Four backpacks on. So it was pretty normal.
Yeah. I'm glad you weren't, you just had the backpack and not the cowboy hat that you have from Dallas. That would have probably got more questions for you at the airport when you were trying to rest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely would have been out of place in Philly.
That's for sure. Indy, maybe not so much. Philly, oh yeah. So Dimitri, we did meet there, and you are in Indianapolis currently working for the
Correct.
NCAA, but you're actually from the East Coast, if I remember correctly. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep. I'm from New York.
Yeah. Okay. And you had as we saw in the video, you had a great basketball career, and you went to Alfred and Nazareth universities, if I remember correctly from my extensive research. And so, I just got to know, how did your love of basketball start? What happened to make you want to pursue playing basketball even in school and beyond?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question, and I don't want to say this out loud because I know that it'll hold it over my head for the rest of my life. But my passion for basketball started with my older brother, Dwayne. He was super passionate into basketball, played it his entire life, and I just grew up just as a little sibling would, but would never admit to them, as they're older because it would go straight to his head, of course.
Right.
It really started with him, and just seeing his love and his skill and being able to go to all his games growing up really just kind of lit the fire under me, and I picked it up like any other younger sibling would.
Did he play in school as well? Did he have as far a career as you did?
No, but if you ask me and a lot of people we grew up with, he should have. He was very talented. He was very talented.
Gotcha. And you gotta I gotta ask the question. I always, when it's the brother sister sibling rivalry, I always go back to the Reggie Miller, Cheryl Miller thing. Did you beat him?
Now I do.
Now. Oh, okay. Okay.
Old now, but back in the day, no, he was beating me. He had at least a foot over me.
Okay. So when did you start pursuing basketball as your own passion? Was it, did you start in elementary school? Did it wait till later in high school? When did that ball start rolling?
Yeah, I actually had very sporadic moments of when I played basketball. I first picked it up in middle school, played for 2 years, didn't really until I went to high school. My freshman year is when I really started playing organized basketball again seriously. And then I didn't really actually think about playing basketball in college until maybe my junior year of high school, and that's really unusual nowadays, especially for the recruitment process. But I actually started my process very late, and it was really just due to me not having confidence in myself that I could be able to play at a higher level.
Wow, yeah, that is late for those, unaware. And you'll have to forgive me. I, like most people, which I'd love to talk about, definitely follow more men's sports
Mhm.
than women. And my following women's sports picked up when my daughter was born 13 years ago, because I'm trying not to pay for college. Uh, but I believe it's the same. For those unaware, a lot of times kids start playing early and younger, and then they start
Mhm.
getting involved not only in school sports but AAU and other
Mhm.
outside organizations there. Did you have any of that outside, or were you strictly through your school?
Yeah, for the most part, I was through my school. Once I decided that I wanted to play more seriously, that's when I kind of got on the AAU circuit a little bit more. But basketball actually wasn't even really my first love, which is why I kind of started it as late as I did. But yeah, no, I definitely had those resources to me. But since coming to the party a little bit later, I had a lot of catch up to do.
Right. Well, gotta ask, what were some of your other passions in there?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know, but I am a black belt in martial arts, and I used to compete pretty regularly, starting from the age of 8 and all the way up to 15. And I've traveled pretty much internationally and competed with the best of the best in my age bracket.
Wow. So what made you choose Candace Parker over Ronda Rousey?
Oh, Candace Parker, to be honest, in the WNBA. And once that grew in popularity, I was glued to it, and I wanted to be all like Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie, all of them. And it was I just never kind of looked back. And I mean, I still have my love for karate, and I still support where I can. I still have my trophies hanging up too. But your passions come in seasons, and that doesn't mean I have any lesser love for karate, but just basketball is my love right now.
And that's I love hearing that, passions comes in seasons. A lot of time people think it's got to be one thing or the other, but I always say having multiple tools in your tool belt sometimes can, interplay over. Did you ever find that, your study of martial arts, of karate, helped you on the court or even in the classroom, and beyond those kind of disciplines? Were they ever helpful?
Oh, absolutely. There is so many transferable skills from martial arts to basketball, and a lot of it was the self discipline piece. A lot of the time when you're on the court, it's you and the other team, but your first line of defense is your own mental. And being able to get over that and have a really short memory and get after it on the next play is really, really important to being a good basketball player and what separates you from being a great basketball player.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it's all, as you talk about that, being able to move on. I know in life in general, being able to kind of put those hard things aside, that's my struggle. I probably should have had more self-discipline for some of that. But did you ever, with all of this, your athletic background, how did you balance having multiple athletic passions with your other everyday life, your schoolwork, your family life, your social life? How did you learn to balance all of that at young age?
I don't know if I have it completely mastered even up until this point because it's again that's something else that comes in seasons too. But I mean, it's you learn to figure out what's the priority in the immediate moment and give yourself grace for everything else. You're human. You're gonna do your best, and you're not gonna be able to get to everything. But it really comes with one. Being disciplined on a schedule and prioritizing and just also carving in time for yourself because you can easily get burnt out and that type of life isn't always the most sustainable, but it's only unsustainable when you're not putting yourself first also in the midst of all the chaos.
And I'm so glad you said that. And we live in a small town here in Berwick, and football is life in this town. And but knowing that it's not is sometimes really important. That it's just a small part of your bigger picture. So, Demetria, you talk about your career here and going into college athletics. Well, with that comes, as you said, the recruiting part.
Yeah.
And so, we're probably going to have kids seeing this that are working towards, going to college, whether it be for sports or just academics. I imagine that not every letter was a green light go. So could you maybe talk about, maybe some of those rejection letters, as they call them, and then what it felt like to have those schools say, hey, we want you.
Yeah. Man, the rejections obviously weren't great.
Right.
When you're hoping that it's either a school of your dreams or a program that you always thought about playing for, but also just understanding that just because it's a no doesn't mean it's a no from everybody, and there are people in programs out there that see your talent as an asset, and just because you get one rejection doesn't mean that your whole process is a wash or you as a player aren't enough, and just really continue to persevere through that process because it's a long process. It's an overwhelming process sometimes, and it could be very lengthy depending on when you start. But having a community and a team around you that will support you and are aware and knowledgeable of you and your interests and your wants as a player and as a person and as a student athlete definitely helps the process go by a lot smoother. Shout out to my high school coach, Karen Mawison. She was instrumental in my recruiting process and just helping me weed out the noise so I could just really focus on basketball, especially in my senior season, which helped me so much because the pressure's on when you're a senior and you know that you have all these eyes watching you to see what you're going to do or what you're not going to do. But she made it very easy for me just to go out there and do what I love every day so people could have the most accurate representation of who I was as a player.
Yeah, that's great. That support system, and finding it and knowing where to, where to look, sometimes it's not And the same in my case, sometimes it's not always family. Sometimes it's someone that, a coach or a neighbor or a teacher. And Mr. I always go back to Mr. Rogers. It's like the Bible and then Mr. Rogers' neighborhood are, that's this order. But he always, said, when there's problems, look for the helpers. There always be helpers. And if you look somewhere in your life, someone's there to give you that boost up. Well, so you go ahead and you make it to play at Alfred first, correct? And then you transferred to Nazareth. Could you maybe tell, I don't want too deep of, if you don't need to, but maybe that process of realizing you started one way, but maybe this way would be a little bit better. We heard in that video clip, you applauded that decision that you made. And maybe that thought process of like, I need to change course, but things are still going to be good.
Yeah. Well, I don't like being wrong sometimes. So having to swallow that pill that maybe my first decision wasn't the best decision for me at that moment in time in my life was hard, because I had to really take some time to self-reflect. I had to have a lot of honest and open and vulnerable conversations with a lot of people that I loved in my life, to really come to that conclusion. I think that there was a myriad of things that, and shout out to Alfred University and the program and the school, and they were awesome. And the friends that I made there, that is an undeniable school in itself. Just because that was the wrong fit for me doesn't mean that was the wrong school, period.
Right.
And coming to Nazareth, it was easier, it's closer to my family, and definitely was able to scratch a lot of the itches that I was looking for, especially when I looked beyond basketball. And once, I was able to kind of stand on my own 2 feet on that decision. And I had, again, going back to that support system and that community, they were all hands on deck. And really at the end of the day, just wanted to be happy. And if that was a decision that was going to make me happy, then they were going to help me move mountains in order to do it.
And that kind of goes back to that self-discipline that you talked about, being which a lot of people don't realize. Self-discipline also brings self-awareness, and you're recognizing your feelings and recognizing, that it's okay to change course every now and then. But I love that you said that about Alfred. Just because it wasn't the right fit for you doesn't mean that it's bad. And, same with jobs, same with with other stuff. Well, so we saw you had a great career, and got to see you on your senior night there. So you studied communications, is that correct?
Marketing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more broad.
I got you. Which, man, if I could pick your brain on marketing, this would be a whole different conversation. But I'll stick to this for now and not bore everybody with the inner workings that I want. So, but what was the choice with there? Because we focus so much on the athletics, but the athletics in a lot of ways is the portal to an opportunity to move into these fields. And I know the NCAA is very big on student athletes, that it's a student and the athlete. So why marketing? What was that reason and passion there?
I had a pretty big love for business and the operations behind it. I always wanted to kind of be an entrepreneur and own my own business. And I had the opportunity to do that in high school, called the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it was a program that allowed me to create my own business plan, get a DBA, have an investors panel, and get real money and put it towards a business of really my own thinking. And that was my first real exposure of the ins and outs of what entrepreneurship really was. And I loved all of it. There's some parts I obviously didn't like. The accounting part, you can really keep. That's why there's someone that's paid to do that. Because
I am with you. Budgets are not my friend. I'm telling you. Yeah.
No. And admittedly, math was not my strong suit in school, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so when it came down to me trying to decide on what my major was going to be, I distinctly remember when I had the opportunity to tell my story, my vision, and my brand. about my business itself, that's really what lit a fire underneath me. And that's when I kind of knew that I really wanted to get more in depth into what marketing was, what it entailed, why is it the study of people and consumership, and like how is that also not psychology at the same time. So my brain really started to spin on the possibilities of just wanting to learn, and that's just who I am as a person. I'm someone who loves to learn people and know why people operate and do the things that they do, and to be able to tie that into marketing and the business aspect of as well definitely is something that interests me.
Yeah, it's so interesting too, because in athletics, there really is that level of human psychology and human that interaction. You got to be able to study the other team. You got to be able to see what are their mannerisms, what do they go for, do they have any tells, and marketing is definitely a level where it's very much the same way. You're reading people, you're reading their reactions, you're reading and going that far. What was you had me curious, what was the business that you started when you had your, why aren't we seeing you on Shark Tank instead of in the NCAA?
I've actually always wanted to be on Shark Tank, but then I caught a couple episodes when they weren't very nice, and that kind of like was enough for me.
Understood.
But okay, so the business was called Petapup. Eric, me and a classmate at the time named Eric Wolf. Wherever you are, Eric, I hope you're well.
Wait. Somebody named Eric Wolf created a company called Petapup.
Yeah.
Right there, you'd have got the money in Shark Tank. Right there.
Honestly,
you had
thought about
the name, the mask. He'd have been set as the mascot. Yeah. Go ahead. So you and the wolf got together for puppies.
Yeah. So it was surrounded around therapeutic services and providing that to those in assisted living and the elderly. And I had this idea of really wanting to provide a healing service. And he was the dog man. Like, he, believe it or not, like him and his family owned a kennel. They did dog shows. Good. They had several therapy dogs already registered with, under them. And it was kind of like the perfect matchup for this. And he taught me a lot about just caring for dogs and that process of getting them registered and how important they are to physical, mental, and emotional health of others. And, it was great because aside from being able to create a business, I feel like I learned such valuable information about how this service is really going to be impactful.
Sorry, I hope my microphone, I got weird feedback. I apologize. In our field, with the Salvation Army, we obviously we're service oriented. And, whenever we work with people in business, I always invite them in to meet with people and to see their needs, because you get a different appreciation of the people that you're working with when you see people that you're serving. And so, we have a few members here of our volunteers here in Berwick that have service dogs, and we've seen the benefits. So I think that, once, things slow down for the NCAA, which is going to be never, you can, bring that pitch back up. I love it. So tell us a little bit about, now you transition from, you graduate, and now you work your way and you find your way into the NCAA, which incredibly, you get to combine two of your passions.
Yeah.
You get to combine athletics and marketing. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was one of the most unexpected journeys I think that I've had. And it started in my senior year. I was a postgraduate intern with the NCAA, and that's kind of how I initially got my foot in the door. And I actually was in operations, and a lot of what the initial responsibilities I had were in championship ops. And I started off with Division I women's volleyball and beach volleyball. And mind you, this is coming on the heels of COVID. So the first part of my internship was really just kind of learning office systems, meeting a bunch of great people. And then I really got to dive deep into how championships are run here at the NCAA, and it's been nuts. I would have never really thought that I would find myself here in Indianapolis, for one, coming from New York, and let alone the NCAA, which I never even really thought was a possibility of me being able to work for them. It's crazy, really.
And so how did you end up into your current position of coordinator of women's basketball?
Yeah, this came off of, and this I felt like was just such a blessing in timing, really. And this came off of the gender equity review that the NCAA had after the 2021 Women's Basketball Championship, and part of that recommendation was additional staffing support in order to put on the championship. And came with that were 3 coordinator positions, and myself and 2 other of my colleagues that got hired on. And at this exact moment, too, my internship got extended an additional year due to COVID, and really wanted to do their due diligence and give us a more regular year as opposed to what we had the year prior. And as I had already accepted, to stay at the perfect time and decide to not leave, came this other opportunity that just completely fell into my lap. And I took a leap on faith, because also I applied to be the women's basketball department's intern when I was in college, and actually ended up getting rejected ultimately, and came on in a different department as the intern. And they ended up hiring me back, and I took a leap of faith, and it all worked out in the end.
Just kind of like the college letters, when one door closes, sometimes the window opens, and you got to climb in there. So could give us maybe a brief, overview of what you do as coordinator of women's basketball?
I do a lot. I almost feel like my role is like a jack of all trades, and so one of my initial roles is I'm the volunteer coordinator. So I help elicit all of the volunteers that help out at the Women's Final Four. I work on sustainability as it pertains to our championship. I am the liaison with our diversity, equity, and inclusion, with our Office of Inclusion office here at the NCAA. I also support the Women's Basketball Committee, which are the really important people that pick the teams in the bracket for the Final Four and the Women's Basketball Championship. And the list goes on and on, and I won't bore you with the details.
The proper answer is yes. That's what I do. So, that just, to be able to be around what you loved for so much, and still be so included, and now into a level of different responsibilities, but even a different respect level within the industry, has got to be a dream come true in many ways.
Yeah, it's, again, from someone who's been a fan working, attending the Women's Final Four, and someone who dreamed of playing in a women's Final Four and being able to be the hands that create future Final Fours is something I didn't even know if I could even ask for that or pray for that, or even want for myself. And it's insane, and it's beautiful, and it's just so warming for me to be able to give back to sports and these athletes that have done so much, just transforming me as a person. So it's great.
Well, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but we've hit on this so much though. Yeah. But I would be completely remiss and again, I'm a girl dad. Mm-hmm. I'm self-admittedly have always leaned into men's athletics, and that's when we talked a little bit at the airport. I think a lot of that boils down to visibility. Mm-hmm. And so maybe if you just kind of would want to hit on some of those struggles, being a female athlete and now working behind the scenes, supporting female athletes, about, some of those struggles, but what are some of the hopes and visions of the future of women's athletics?
Yeah, it's some of the struggles really involves knowing that our community is cool, and that our sport is cool, and that the women that participate in it are really cool, and the rest of the world not really getting on board with that. Or it takes 2 star players in the Final Four going at it in the most competitive way possible for us to get eyes. And in the having the questions, when was women's basketball like this? They were never like this. And the fact of the matter is we're athletes just as much as you are. And, and we deserve to get the stage and the platform to showcase our talents that they have worked so hard day in and day out to do, the same as, every men's institution and program. And it's been challenging to think about new ways to challenge those ideologies that don't support completely women in athletics, and trying to figure out new ways to boost our exposure. And a lot of that comes through, the day and age that we're in now, social media. We have a great digital and social team that works on our championship that honestly really helped build our brand of women's basketball that everyone seems to love. And, that's kind of some of the avenues that we've had to take. We kind of had to really meet the people where they're at, and give our student athletes the opportunity to tell their stories, and tell them how cool that they are. And right now, one initiative that our digital social team has is the college road trip. And right now they are currently en route and going to 25 schools in the next couple months to tell their stories and to get, the people to understand like who these girls are and what they're about, and really fall in love with them the way that we have.
Yeah, it's the eyeballs on the product is what is, what's needed. And I've been blessed now to having worked with so many kids. And even last night, my wife and I, and this will be at last week or whenever this airs, I forgot about the time difference of when I put this up. But my family went to the Little League World Series, and seeing the biggest hit of the night be the girl that stepped up to the plate and knocked it down center field, and the reaction that she got was incredible. And just knowing that if you look for it, it's there. And totally, I see it across the board. I'm a big wrestling fan, and the women are really taking over in a good way there, and just hope for that it grows. And I see a great future for women's athletics. I have to shout out Majors Champlin and Syracuse, who are by far the biggest women's basketball fans I've ever met.
Really?
And so they're going to be so happy that I shouted them out to you. But they every month they've been taking us under their wing a little bit and giving us a little bit of insight. Well, Demetria, I love this conversation, and I want to be cognizant of your time. And I end every interview with the same question.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got kids of all ages watching this. We've got adults of all ages watching this. And so I ask everybody, what would you now say to 12-year-old you?
Ooh.
It's always a loaded question.
Man, there's so many things probably. Like use your left hand or
I can honestly say I've never had that answer.
Yeah. I think I'd say take a leap and bet on yourself and believe that you can do it, even when that little voice in your head is telling you that you can't. That's not the truth. And the truth is you're awesome and you're capable and you're worthy and you can do anything that you put your mind to. So
here's my heart just stood up. I love that answer so much. And that's actually the same answer we get from most. So those watching, remember that you're awesome, you're worthy, and take that step. Well, Demetria, do you want to give any shout out of where, if you want people to follow you or follow the NCAA, where would they go to follow and learn about women's athletics?
Yes. Please go to ncaa.org and please navigate to championships of women's basketball. And there you'll find everything from Division I, Division II, and Division III women's basketball. And follow our digital social team, March Madness Women's Basketball, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. And honestly, I'm only on LinkedIn, so you can find me at Demetria Woodard on LinkedIn.
But you're one of the smart ones for sure. And and if you got a local university, check out a women's game, whether and not just basketball. If it's a volleyball game, if it's a baseball, softball game, whatever it is, go ahead and go out and support your women athletes there in your universities, and we're hoping to be doing a little more of that here. So, Demetria, thank you so much for all of your time and everything that you said, and your journey. And we just appreciate you so much. And keep your eyes peeled on our social media, guys. We're going to have more of these interviews. They're not going to be regular basis as they were before, but I want to just continue as we find people that have these interesting careers and turn their passions into these careers to highlight them. So until next time, it's Captain Mike. I'll see you later.